All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to talk about finding the area of a parallelogram. Okay, and the area, as we talked about in class, equals base times the height. Now this is different than finding the area of a square, which is the length of one edge times the length of another edge. That would be the horizontal edge times the vertical edge. Okay, but for a parallelogram, it is the base, and then the height from the top to the bottom. Okay. Now the reason I want to talk to you about this is that there's a common misconception that we need to clear up. And the common misconception is that we can find the area of a parallelogram, which I'm going to call AP, by doing the same thing as finding the area of a square. I'm going to show you why it has to be base times height. As one student pointed out to me, said, well, isn't a square pretty much the same as pushing this parallelogram up so it becomes a square and then calculating the area from there, which would be the same area as length times width. Now here's the problem with that situation. I'm going to look at this triangle here right now. Okay, it is a right triangle because the opposite angle is 90 degrees. All right, and we're going to, for the sake of assumption, say that this length is 3, this length is 4. Now, we haven't talked about this in class yet, but using the Pythagorean theorem, I know that the length of this far angle here is 5. Okay, so if I'm going to assume that the length of this edge is this base, which would be the same as B on the bottom. If this was, let's say, it doesn't matter what it is, let's call it 8 centimeters for now. We'll work in centimeters. Okay. If I was to assume that this was 8 centimeters long, okay, now I'm going to work out the area both ways, and we'll see that they're different. Okay, so using this formula here for a parallelogram and this formula here for a square, which would be this talking about if we pushed this parallelogram up so it stood on its side and became a square, I'm going to calculate both and I'm going to see if they wind up being the same. And before I forget, these are all in centimeters. So as you can see over here, it's 8 centimeters from this corner to this corner. It is 4 centimeters from this corner to this corner. Is 5 centimeters from this corner to this corner. Alright, so I'm going to start with the area of the parallelogram first. So that's going to equal the base, which is 8 centimeters, okay, times the height, which is 4 centimeters. And again, the height is from the bottom line, the distance from the bottom line to the top line, which we're making a 90-degree angle going straight up. We can measure that and find that out. And I worked that out using my multiplication tables in my melon. 8 times 4 is 32 centimeters squared. Okay, so that's the area using the formula for a parallelogram. Alright, now I'm going to jump over and do the formula for a square. Okay, so area of a square is equal to the length. So we'll call this the length and then this the width. And again, we're going to pretend that we've adjusted this so it is up and standing up like a square now and measuring it like that. So the length would be 8 centimeters times 5 centimeters. And when I work that out, it actually works out to be 40 centimeters squared. So, assuming that we can push it up like a square actually changes the area drastically by almost 8 centimeters squared, actually. You add an extra 8 centimeters onto it. Alright, now we could have done the same thing if we had actually gone and, hold on one second here. So if we had gone and drawn, so this would have been about the size of the square, but if we had just moved the triangle over, and what I'm talking about is if we take this triangle here and we cut it there and we transfer it over here to make the square. So we've taken away this one rectangle and we've put it over here, and now we've done an 8 times 4. This rectangle is much smaller than the bigger rectangle there. So in conclusion again, when calculating the area of a parallelogram is equal to base times height. It is not equal to length times width, so the base is from one corner to another, and the height is the distance from whichever line you measured for the base, from the distance from that line to the parallel line above it, to calculate the area of a parallelogram. Alright, thanks. We'll talk some more in class.